so I tried to record this when I was actually doing it, but it kind of turned out to be a disaster. So we're going to pretend. Okay, so here's my little shoot that was hooked to the top of the tuber, and it had a lot more leaves on it, but I'll show you the kind of that in a second. So it's attached, you know, right usually around the crown area, obviously, and you want to get right next to that tuber and wiggle it back and forth. Sometimes we'll pop it off, or if you need to, you can get your fingernail in there and kind of make a little score, and then it'll bend. Some people do use like a scalpel to cut it off, but I tend to like to do this, and then it's not spreading so much you know, virus liquids between, but you can definitely use something to cut it with. And then you're going to want to remove all those little side leaves that are developing, and that leaves you with these little leaf nodules, and that is important to go underneath the soil with those leaf nodules. You have to have those for the roots to form, or you don't have to, but that's the quickest way to get roots. Okay, so there's all the little pieces I took off. And then I've just got a little pot that I've pre-moistened. Unlike the bag, the soil, you can almost see it, it's not that saturated. It's barely moist in there, where this is like heavily saturated. Okay, and then I use a rooting hormone. I've tried a couple of different kinds. This is a new one I'm trying this year that I've heard people are liking. So I just put some in a container, and then I use a pencil and just kind of pre-make my hole. Okay, and then it's pretty easy. You just kind of roll it in here. And if you don't have rooting hormone, it's okay. It just maybe takes another day or two, but it still works just fine. Just try to get it in and cover up those little leaf nodules. And then you just kind of pop it down in there. And try to get in deep enough so that you're covering a couple of those nodules, at least one set anyway. Okay, and this didn't have a lot of leaves, canopy, I guess you could say, on the top. The two on the top were fairly small, but sometimes those top sets will even be pretty big, and I'll just kind of gently rip them in half, because you don't want the plant to put energy into feeding those leaves. You want it to work on the roots, but you do need some leaf, you know, to collect the light and keep it going. So anyway, so that's basically it. And then I put it in a tray, something like this, anything will work. And then I use a humidity dome over the top, and that just keeps it nice and humid in there. And you're going to see condensation on whatever container you use, and that's okay. I mean, with just one in there, you might not see condensation, but if you had a whole bunch in there, you would definitely see condensation. You want it to stay very humid in there, unlike when it was in the Ziploc bag, because this is a whole nother process. There's no tuber to rot. You don't have to worry about that. You're just trying to get that root to start going. So anyway, in about 14 days in reality. I know a lot of people will claim, 7 days or whatever, but in my experience, it usually takes 14 to sometimes even 28 days. It can be a while sometimes, but as long as that top leaf set is nice and what's the word I'm trying to use? It's just standing tall. Hydrated, that's the word I was trying to say. You know that things are working the way they should. Sometimes the first day it'll droop a little bit, but then you'll notice within 24 hours it'll rehydrate itself and stand up a little taller. So anyway, there's my very amateur cutting little tutorial for you. Hope that helps.